So guys, welcome to another video where today we're going to be talking about 2020 in films. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a review of 7 films that have already come out and 7 films that are left to come out once everything that's happening has happened. So let's get straight into the 7 films of 2020 so far. The first of which is The Personal History of David Copperfield, and we're going to go to Tom.
Personal History of David Copperfield is it's an adaptation of the titular novel by Charles Dickens. It's one of his most well-regarded works. It's about a boy who loses everything, who loses his family, is sent into poverty by his cruel stepfather, and then has to work his way back up into high society over the course of his life. It's, as it suggests, it's David Copperfield writing his own memoirs. It's by Armando Iannucci, and if you recognise that name, it's for a good reason. He did 2017's Death of Stalin, which is still one of my favourite films of that year and one of the best political thrillers of the 21st century. He's also the creator of The Thick of It, and as a politics student, I still love that series. If you're a fan of those, you might not actually like David Copperfield because it's nothing like them. It's a moderate adaptation. It's a very good and very fluent adaptation, but it doesn't aspire to be more than its source material. That being said, it's a very competently directed film, and Dev Patel, Hugh Laurie, Tilda Swinton, and, well, the entire cast, really. The entire cast does an amazing, amazing job with the source material. It is honestly worth your time. It's a wonderful little film. It's heartwarming in places, and it's done with a real flair for the source material and some real talent in both cinematography and directing.
Carrying on our review of 2020 in films, we're going to go to Zach, who is standing by with the cover of Birds of Prey.
This is actually my girlfriend's. This is actually my girlfriend, so if you're watching this, happy birthday.
Hopefully it goes out on a birthday. Oh, that's just like...
Fingers crossed. So, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Yes, that is the full name of the film. I'm not being ignorant. That is the full name of the film. It's basically a Harley Quinn spin-off. Obviously, we've seen Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, came out in 2016, which is very much open to suggestion whether it's a good film or a bad film. I lean towards being a bad film, but that's just my opinion. And it follows Margot Robbie's central character of Harley Quinn on a journey for emancipation. She's broke up with the Joker. Her life is over. She knows it. And then she comes in contact with the Birds of Prey, which is a female superhero-led group that are dedicated to fighting vigilante crime, such as Batman, one would say. What I will say is that it only just solidifies how Margot Robbie is a perfect casting for Harley Quinn. No one I've ever seen on the silver screen, whether it be animated or whatever, or voice work, has ever done so much of a phenomenal job as Margot Robbie has done. The main thing I think about Birds of Prey is that it's very progressive. I'm not going to lie here. It's very, very progressive, and it's vastly different from a majority of superhero films for a few different reasons. It's a 15 for a start, so it's very grim, gory, and gritty. And 2, it's female-led, and not many female-led superhero films, apart from a few, obviously Wonder Woman and Black Widow that's coming out soon, which Tom will be touching on in a second, are out there. And I think it's very progressive, especially in this time where change is needed in all aspects of the world. So I can't fault it for that at all. It's enjoyable. The cast as a whole, they're really good. And Ewan McGregor, obviously, as usual, it's fantastic. So I do recommend it. Don't get me wrong, but my girlfriend likes it more than me.
So standing by with another Blu-ray copy and cover is Niall, who's going to talk to us about Parasite.
Yes, Parasite. So the best way to describe this film, it's about a poor Korean family who end up conning their way into getting into a rich person's house in their neighborhood where they live, and stuff happens. I won't go into the full details because it's one of those films where you just have to see it. But I will say this right now, this film is very, very grim. It's a very grim film, but it's also a very thoughtful film. and it makes you think. I think the best way for me to describe it is, it's a film that makes you appreciate what you have, and sometimes looking at things from the outside is different to actually experiencing it for yourself. This film, you might already know this, but this film won the Oscar for Best Picture. It's the first foreign language film to ever win that award, but it also won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Palme d'Or, yeah. And it's also one of the few films, only one of 3 films actually, to win both the Oscar for Best Picture and the Palme d'Or. So this film's got some serious skin in the game. Definitely give it a watch. As I said, it's not a very pleasant film, but it'll hopefully make you appreciate what you have.
Yeah. And I think the biggest recommendation about this film is that Donald Trump said it shouldn't have won the Oscar, which means it definitely should have won the Oscar.
Yeah.
So means you should definitely go and watch it. Next, we're going to Tom, who's going to talk about one of his favourite films of 2020, Dark Waters. Tom?
Dark Waters is the story of Rob Bellot. He's a corporate lawyer that takes on the chemical giant DuPont. He's still taking them on now, actually. He's still been filing lawsuits against them, even during coronavirus. Honestly, it is the scariest film I have ever seen, and possibly one of the best horror films I've ever seen. And it's not even a horror film. It's the story of, like I said, Rob Bellot. He's a corporate lawyer that back in the late 90s, early 2000s, found out that DuPont Chemical Company had been pumping toxins into the waters of rural West Virginia. They've been poisoning cows, poisoning the water, the food, the air, and the people. I didn't know a thing about this before I watched Dark Waters. And it is a credit to Mark Ruffalo, to Todd Haynes, and all of the team behind Dark Waters that they not only get this point across with amazing fluidity, but without being preachy, and making an amazing film in the process. It really shows the struggle of trying to take on big corporations, especially massive chemical giants in the US, which have so much lobbying power on their side. I find it hard to recommend this film to anyone on a conventional level, because while it is a very, very technically impressive film, it's also a very disconcerting watch. It's a necessary watch, and it's a very good film. But I have to warn you, you will not enjoy it. And if you're scared and if you're angry afterwards, then, they did their job. You have a right to be. You should be.
A funny thing happened to me while watching this film, if you remember this, Tom. During the trailers of the film, I had a packet of refreshers, just a little tube of them. And I decided to eat these refreshers because obviously you're watching the trailers. And I felt a crack, okay? I felt a significant crack. And a significant portion of my molar snapped off.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I was terrified for my life. I called my mum during the trailers. I was like, Mum, my tooth is snapped. I don't know what to do. Luckily, it's okay because I've had a root canal filling. The wall around the tooth gets weaker, so if pieces of the tooth fall off, it's okay. So, no worries. But at that point in time, I felt my life flash before my eyes. Half my tooth had broken off in front of me from one tiny square of Refresher Sweet. Do you know what? And as well, something I've noticed in Asda currently is they've actually got on the packets, the new improved packets, softer recipe. So I think many people have discovered that as well as I have. But that's my piece. That's what I took away from the film. The film is incredible and enthralling and grim and depressing, but nothing is more depressing than my tooth.
So there you go. It's the most enjoyable film that 2020 has to offer.
Couldn't put
it better.
Exactly.
I'm going to quickly talk about Uncut Gems, which is the second feature film from the Safdies and is probably one of my second favourite film of this year, second to what Zach's going to talk about later. But this film blew my mind. This film does so much so well, whether it's the performances. So it has Adam Sandler as the protagonist in what is effectively like a gangster-like thriller. Not in a comedy, a psychological gangster thriller, and it's Adam Sandler. And it's not just Adam Sandler, it's Adam Sandler at an Oscar-worthy level is how good this film is. It's got so much quality in the performances, especially from the likes of Lakeith Stanfield. Kevin Garnett, the basketball legend, somehow turns in a phenomenal performance. That being said, he just plays himself, but still, you have to perform in front of the camera, and he does it very well. And it is something that the Safdie brothers have a knack for, taking people who don't act and making them actors. Like The Weeknd also stars in this film in quite a funny role. But yeah, this film does so much so well. I've never felt tension in a film like I felt it in Uncut Gems, whether it's through the writing and the way that the characters are always trying to shout over each other, trying to get the status over one another, or whether it's through the editing. So this film centers around Game 7 in the NBA playoffs, and Kevin Garnett obviously being a part of that. And in the final moments of the film, the tension is built around that, cutting from the game to the characters, whether it's Kevin Garnett, whether it's Adam Sandler's character, and everything that's happened to him by that point of the film. And the tension in that film it made my heart beat quicker than any exercise that I could ever do. Like, I know that there's an exercise challenge going along with this from the youth club at the minute, but watch Uncut Gems. You will exercise more in that than anything that could get recommended in an exercise challenge. This film is insane.
It's Adam Sandler's best performance ever. Ever.
We can't discredit Happy Gilmore, Tom.
We're not discrediting
him. Double the fun.
That's my boy.
We're going to throw it to Zach, who's going to talk about The Five Bloods, which on recording came out just a couple of days ago and is phenomenal and is a very important film right now. Zach, take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so The Five Bloods is a Spike Lee joint. Spike Lee has a penchant for showcasing the grim and unfortunate truth, in all of his stories that he's telling. No matter how distressing and how agonizing it is to watch, he will put you through that. But in order to paint a morbid, yet realistic picture, he has to have, a solid backbone. This film centers on 4 Vietnam veterans, Paul, Otis, Eddie, and Melvin, who have gone back to Vietnam to recover the remains of their fallen commander, Stormin' Norman, played by Chadwick Boseman. And also, they remember that they left a bit of buried treasure hidden in the jungles of Vietnam. So they go back and they go and dig it up, and they dig up a lot. And first and foremost, right off the bat, this is one of the greatest films I've seen in a long, long time. One of the greatest war films I've ever seen, one of the greatest films. And Spike Lee does an excellent job in just balancing the tone, because 1 minute it's incredibly funny, and for the next it's just very grim. And it will continue to be grim until something comedic happens. The war scenes here, I've never felt this under threat watching a movie since Dunkirk, because of how immersive and how much Spike puts you into the frame, into the picture, using the 16mm film as well. And these scenes really heighten the impact of the situation that these characters find themselves in. But one thing that I will mention here, and the secret ingredient to what Spike has done here, is the performance of the English actor Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo gives a performance of a lifetime. Never have I ever seen a performance of this magnitude in my entire life. Watching the films for the past 18 years of my life, I've never seen anything like this. You feel every inch of his pain and his suffering through the expression of his face alone. His eyes, they connote the message to you so incredibly well. Just the way he elevates his character to the next level within a matter of seconds that he's able to snap, words completely defy me as to how incredible it was to witness such a sensitive yet heartbreaking, poignant performance. Beyond belief, this man deserves the Oscar, and I don't think anyone will come close to it. It'll take a lot to beat the sheer magnitude of this performance. Believe me, once you get involved with the story, with the characters, you won't be able to take your eyes off the screen. It's the best summer 2020, bar none. It's harrowing, it's depressing, it's grim, but at the center of it, there's a true heart and there is a true sense of hope. For everything that's going on outside our windows right now, there is hope that something is going to come out of this. There is going to be a change.
So we're going to talk about our last film of 2020 so far, quickly, which is Jojo Rabbit. Tom, take it away.
Right. Well, I think by now we have all agreed that Taika Waititi is a god. He is an absolute god of cinema. And Jojo Rabbit just proves this even more than we already needed him to. It is, on paper, something that would never work. It is a comedy about Nazis. One where the main character is in the Hitler Youth, where a main plot point is a Jewish girl hiding in the attic, and where Hitler is a main character. But it works. It works so well. It is one of the most... I love dark comedy. I absolutely love dark comedy. One of my favourite films is Doctor Strangelove, as I said in another video. And Jojo Rabbit's on that sort of level. It takes human suffering and tragedy and some of the worst things that humanity has ever done to each other, and it makes them absolutely hilarious. Taika Waititi plays Hitler, and, you know, I feel like it's something that's inherently funny. You know, there's a Polynesian Jewish guy playing Hitler. It's
just that honestly, alone is enough to crack someone up. Like,
I mean, the fact there's so many little. It's just such a smart film, especially in its representation of the Nazis and Hitler. So with Hitler, they show Hitler constantly smoking and offering a cigarette and eating meat, whereas Hitler was strongly against smoking and a huge vegetarian. So everything about this patronizes Hitler and what he stands for as an idea.
Yeah,
which
it's about laughing at it.
On that note as well, with the representation of the Nazis, it is just made fun of the entire time. Like the idea of the Nazi youth, what Sam Rockwell's character is presented as. You know, we see him at one point come out in this incredibly outlandish outfit with eye makeup on and a flamethrower, and all this kind of crazy stuff happens. And that is character's relationship with Alfie Allen's character, and there's so much. It just makes a complete mockery of the Nazis and Hitler, which I think and it's done in such an incredibly beautiful and powerful way throughout the film.
Oh yeah, it's honestly, that's the film's core message. It's the most important message, that we have to laugh at these people, that using humor can disarm them. If you're laughing at someone's ideals, if you're not taking them seriously, they lose a lot of the power they have. And it's a credit to Taika Waititi that he does something so political. It's his first properly political film. And he does it not only so well, he does it so well that you don't even really notice until the credits roll what he's done. You know, he is... I can't big up this film enough. It deserves all the awards and accolades it got during awards season earlier in the year. It's one of his best. And just go and watch it. Just go and watch it.
So guys, that was our list of films to watch from 2020 so far. So now we're going to delve into the upcoming films of 2020. So the first film which I'm going to recommend, which is upcoming in 2020, is Free Guy, which is starring Ryan Reynolds, in which Ryan Reynolds basically plays Deadpool again, but a little bit different, in a bit of a different costume. The film the basic concept of the film is that inside the video game, the character becomes sentient and kind of has access to all these kind of video game tropes. So imagine Wreck-It Ralph and imagine Wreck-It Ralph and imagine the two new Jumanji films, mash them together, throw Ryan Reynolds in and slap a 15 on it, and then you'll have Free Guy. And the other film that I'm going to be recommending is Tenet, Christopher Nolan's new, what looks like a ridiculously mind-bending film. Now, Christopher Nolan has a knack for blowing people's minds. The only films in which that he doesn't really try it in is the Dark Knight trilogy, which are still unreal. I'm not going to get bogged down into talking about them because Zach knows how much I can talk about them. But yeah, Tenet looks like another Christopher Nolan film which is set to blow everybody's mind and demand at least 4 watches at the cinema.
My recommendation for the rest of 2020 is No Time to Die, the new Bond film, which is sadly the final Bond film of Daniel Craig. Allegedly, it is over 3 hours long. The title song obviously has already been released due to the fact that the film was going to be released on the 2nd of April, which I've sung. I'm nowhere near the talent of Billie Eilish, but I think I can definitely fit in there.
I think it was
but
better.
Anyway, yeah. Oh, thank you. And this time the Bond villain is played by the courageous, phenomenally, exceptionally talented god Rami Malek. If you see Mr. Robo, you'll know the mastermind Rami Malek. And it looks like it's going to take Bond in a completely different direction. I've heard things. Unfortunately, some news outlets that are very, very stupid have spoiled major things. So if you want to stay away from them, I implore that you stay way away from them, because unfortunately people think it's acceptable to spoil things that are 3-4 months until it's out. It's not right. Anyway, the point of No Time to Die is that this is Bond's swan song. I think this is James Bond's swan song. I believe. I think this is firmly going to be the final Bond film. There'll be 007 movies, sure, but I think this is James Bond's finale. I think, and the title of the film kind of shows me that the song, the tone of the song that they use. The director, Cary Joji Fukunaga, his recent work is very dark in tone. So I think Bond, hopefully, is going to end at this film. I think we've had enough of it now. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think it's time to move on to something new. Different characters. Maybe focus on Q. Maybe in a movie, Moneypenny, perhaps. So I think Bond is definitely going to be. I say that The Five Bloods is my favorite film of the year. It'll still be my favorite film of the year, but Bond's going to be higher. I think Bond's going to be is going to be a contender. That's for sure. I've been excited for this movie since it was announced. And bring on November, I say. Bring on November. It cannot come any sooner. The other film I'm talking about is Mulan. Mulan is obviously, as you can tell by the title of the film, it is Mulan, but it's with a quite considerable change. It's not a musical, and it's not animated. It's live action. It's gritty. It's probably going to be a bit bloody. It's probably going to be very, very violent. The earlier reviews, when it was supposed to be touted in March, when it was supposed to be released, they were saying that the violence and the action is incredible. It's non-stop, it's enthralling, it's entertaining, end-to-end stuff, really, which is very different from a contemporary Disney film. Take The Lion King, for example, which didn't really have much creative juice at all, other than the source material that it relied on. It didn't really change much. Whereas Mulan is a completely different thing. It's not a different story. The only thing is, it's not a musical, it's not animated, and Mushu doesn't sing. So I think it's going to be very different for a lot of people to get used to that kind of thing. But it looks amazing. The fight scenes look incredible. The choreography is off the charts. Looks like something out of a John Wick, Keanu Reeves style movie. It looks amazing. And that hopefully is coming out next month, I believe. And fingers crossed it will, because it does look pretty damn good, and I'm very looking forward to it.
So next we have Niall talking about The French Dispatch. Take it away, Niall.
Right. So The French Dispatch, if I can get my words out properly, is Wes Anderson's latest film. Now, if you know him, he has a very distinct visual style to his films. They're very. It's hard to describe. If you've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. So this latest film is set in a newspaper in Kansas, and it's about a French foreign bureaucrat in this newspaper. And apparently, there's going to be 3 stories in this one film. As a Wes Anderson film, he usually uses a lot of the same actors in his films, like Bill Murray and Adrian Brody and many others, and Saoirse Ronan. They're going to be in this film as well. I'm not going to name all the people because it's an ensemble cast film and there's a lot. But it's Wes Anderson. Usually his films are very good. So let's hope this one is as well. It doesn't come out until October. So let's hope that things aren't as bad as they are at the moment in October. So, yeah, that's the French Dispatch.
So our two final recommendations are going to come from Tom. Tom is going to talk about two incredibly female-led superhero flicks in Black Widow and Wonder Woman 1984. Take it away, Tom.
Right, so first of all, we have Wonder Woman 1984, which is coming out in October, I believe. It's a sequel to 2017's Wonder Woman, with much the same cast, just as the title suggests, set in the 80s. I'm not going to lie, I'm excited for this because Wonder Woman was probably the first really good film we've had out of DC since they stopped working with Christopher Nolan. And fingers crossed that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are going to be able to keep that up with this one. This one was delayed significantly due to coronavirus. It was supposed to come out, I believe, well, it was supposed to come out in a couple of days, actually. The one I'm really excited for, though, is Black Widow. And if you know me, you know how much I love Black Widow as a character. I've been waiting for this film for 10 years. 10 years. It hurt me so much inside that it got pushed back because of coronavirus. And, well, it's a Marvel film. I don't really think I have to spend any more time recommending it than just saying that. You know, it's in the MCU. It's going to be really good. But, I mean, it's set between Civil War and Infinity War. It's going to explore more of Black Widow's background, which, as we know, has been teased quite a bit through the past 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's got Florence Pugh and David Harbour joining Scarlett Johansson in the main cast, which is amazing. If you've seen some of the stuff that all three actors have been doing in the past couple of years, you'll know it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful way for them to show off their talents. We've got... I'm just really hyped for it. I'm really, really hyped for it. The early trailers were amazing, showing off some great use of CGI, some amazing fight choreography. I can't wait for it. It's coming out in November in the UK, and as far as I'm concerned, November can't come fast enough.
So guys, thank you very much for watching. That's our list of 2020 in films, whether you go away and watch the films that we recommended that have already come out, or whether you get yourselves ready to watch what's still to come out. I hope you enjoy those films. And yeah, make sure to keep an eye out. And the other video which we recorded, which follows us talking about our personal favourite films. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
See you in a bit.
See ya.
There's just no time to... Don't put that in, please. Please, I'll